So my name is Doug. People call me DK. Feel free to do that. Reason for that, I don't have a middle name. Sorry, my mom didn't give me one. I don't know why, but there you go. So I'm DK. So family originally from Scranton. I grew up in New England, in New Hampshire. I lived in DC for 16 years, fell in love with the community and most importantly the nonprofits there. I am a proud nonprofiteer. I say that as a pirate because I think we are that badass, and I will curse. I apologize for that, but we're close to happy hour, so that's all right. And I do believe in this moniker, and I wear this proudly: no profits without nonprofits. We make our community move, and that's going to start my story. So, first thing I want to bring up is just the idea of our communities being disconnected. And I don't mean this in a bad way. I mean this right now, in your head. Think about this. Who's the mayor of your town? Just say it. Think you have it? Who's on your city council? Do you know that? Who is your representative at state government? Who is your representative in the federal government? These things are important to us because a lot of times our disconnection really comes with the fact that we have so many different things in our communities. We have the mom and pop shops, we have the .coms, we have the education opportunities at schools and colleges, the .edus, the non-profiteers that are making things happen, the .orgs, and we have the government. And whether that's local, regional, a state, a federal, all these things are silos that are in our communities. And these silos are dangerous to what we're trying to do within our community. We're hearing a lot today about community impact, and that's what I'm talking about here. If we really want to talk about community impact, I would like to dare us to think in the macro a slightly different way than we typically do. Okay. So, we know that collaboration is important, and we know that communities who collaborate are the ones that move the needle. But when we think of collaboration a lot of times in our work, especially in the nonprofiteer world, a lot of that is based on programmatic need. We say we have a program, we go find the money. We have money out there. Ooh, maybe we should start a program, right? We do this. We follow money, or we follow what we think is the influence to get to money. And the problem with that, really, is that there are so many different other ways that we can be looking at dollars, and we don't. And a lot of times we don't because we're not connected enough. So the idea of microcredit is something, raise your hand, anyone heard of microcredit before? Microcredit is awesome, it's a great idea. It very rarely comes around as an actual thing. We talk about it quite a bit. But the reason I would suggest that sometimes these things don't manipulate and get themselves into the bloodstream of your community is because it changes everything. It changes the dynamic of what .coms and .orgs and .edus and .govs need to do to work with each other. Because it requires us to think a little bit differently. We actually have to say we need to live in what I like to consider the connection economy. We live in this right now. And the reason I suggest this to you is because in our economy, right now, in any community you're from, you probably have niche market companies. You probably have businesses and services that are very, very focused on a particular thing. Yet, to make them successful, we know our communities are clusters of businesses and organizations and opportunities. So if you're a nonprofit homeless shelter, this sounds crazy to say, but you need a great bar down the street. It makes no sense because in our head we think, we can't say bar with the homeless shelter. We can't say that. That doesn't make sense. In fact, it's probably doing us a disservice in a lot of ways from the programmatic thinking. But what I suggest is take one step back from it and think about it from the economic development of your community. If you have businesses in town that are successful, they will support services that we have. If we have strong colleges and universities that are not only encouraging our students to come out thinking differently about our economy, thinking differently about our education system, thinking differently about what it is to be community, they're going to come out and work. They're going to be in jobs that we want. They're going to be not only passionate about the work they have, but they're going to be passionate about the organizations and communities that they live in. So a lot of times when I say the connection economy, we simply go by the old script, right? You go to your community foundation, you ask for money. Their mission is to do the work of the community, so you think, oh, that's pretty good. And sometimes we say, well, we'll do maybe a corporate sponsorship here or there, and that's good. But where I would challenge everybody is to think of it differently, like the old Steve Jobs line is, think differently. A lot of times when we think differently, it's because what we can do is really, really scary to how our mission, how our operations are. We have to change culture a lot of times when we're doing this thing in the connection economy. So all of these things make for a better community. All of them. Right now, in this state, over 15% of the private employment is nonprofit. Nationally, we are the third largest in the sector, the nonprofit sector. It goes retail, manufacturing, nonprofits. We are a huge block when it comes to jobs, job creation. If I said to you guys right now, give me your mission statement, you all can probably do it. You probably have a good statement what that is. You can probably write it on a bar napkin. You have your 2-minute elevator speech, right? You have all that down. In that, do you talk about how many jobs your nonprofit creates? Or how much employment tax goes back into your community? I'm from York. In York, Pennsylvania right now, we have a thing where 37% of the property in York is owned by nonprofits. And they look at this and they say, we all know the word, right? Pilots. Oh, we need to get some dollars. 37%, how can we sustain as an organization, as a community? And I look at that and I say to myself, why don't we flip that coin a little bit? What about 37% of those jobs are nonprofits, and here's what they're doing in terms of services, jobs, support, and love of community. We don't talk that way. Because when we're talking about 37%, we know that means bad on the .gov side. So how can we fix this? How can we maybe adjust to something? Well, I think that we build stronger communities because of the unique attributes of each of these groups, right? So I think we believe in balance, we believe in impact, we believe in a lot of amazing things. And if we were in the room all together, we could bring these attributes to bear. Because very often what we don't do is we don't sit in the room with purpose. We sit in the room because there is an actual thing that we're asking for. I would like $10,000. I would like a cadre of volunteers for my parade. I would like a permit, Mr. Government, because I'd like to do X, Y, and Z, right? But have you ever gone into your city hall or into your alderman's office or into your governor's office and sit at the round table and say, Governor X, you said you wanted to cut homelessness by 10%. Well, I'm the executive director of a homeless shelter. I'd like to work with you on figuring out how to do this. Not because I have the plan, not because I have a program, and certainly not because I would like you to back up that pledge by giving me money, but because that's my goal. See, we're in line already. And in fact, I brought 3 of my favorite companies. 2 of them support me, 1 doesn't, but they both have passion for what it is that homelessness can and should be in terms of getting it out, eradicating it. And while I have it, I have a great social worker program at the local college down the street. I'd like to bring them into the room as well. And you put those heads together, and you get some serious brain power in the room. And a lot of times we don't do this, and the activation is what's missing. And we don't activate because why? Most of the time, it's no fault. We're head down looking at what we need to do. We're head down in the work that we need to be doing. And we don't take the time to say, wait a minute, the attributes of what makes us great as a sector could really go a long way in helping our public policy, our education, and the businesses that happen in our town. So I say, it's time to move from get by to get action. It's one of my favorite lines from Teddy Roosevelt. Get action. Let's get in on this. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody remember when lobbying was a bad word in the nonprofit sector? You can't do that. They'll take away your C3 status. We do it every day. Every day you sit with somebody and you tell the story of your nonprofit and you want them to activate to something, whether it's time, treasure, or talent, you're lobbying. You're telling your story. Let me tell you my story. So let's connect. Let's go out there and connect. Let's look globally, but mean locally, right? Look at every little bit of your organization. Look at every program that you do. Look at every staffer that you have. And ask, who are we working with on the .com, .edu, and .gov world? If you work at state government, what are you doing within the communities? If you work for a small business, what are you doing with the nonprofit sector? Well beyond donations. What are the ways that we can make our economies better? My suggestion to that is simply the fact that if we connect our dots, we're going to have a great dot community. And you know how I know this works? Think of the communities in your head. Close your eyes. Think of the communities that you know that strive, that do amazing work. Now think of who's doing it. It's never one thing. It's never a .com, it's never a .org, it's never a .edu, it's never a .gov. It's all of them together somehow figuring out that the best dot is the dot community. Thanks for your time.